Ah, yes. Here we are once again. It's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. Of course, that means it's time for the High Noon Hemp Show. You find us in many, many places. Either you want to watch live or on demand, of course. You find us on the Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, and at Temptations on Twitter. The podcast, search the High Noon Hemp Show on Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. You'll find us there. I'm, of course, Stoner Jesus. He is Beach. He's high above the Temptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Temptations? Oh, and now we cannot hear Beach. Beach's audio is out. Why? I don't know. I don't understand the audio issues. I was literally just talking to Beach, and I could hear everything he said. And then we go live, and there's nothing.
Oh, hey,
There
wait a
we go.
minute. This is the most bizarre. It just told me my mic was working before I started. And then I got to plug in. One week I got to plug in, one week I don't. Anyway, here I am.
We still have the little crunchiness under your voice. I don't know what that is either. I don't understand any of these audio issues.
I feel like that's got to be the microphone in these headphones. I guess that's hard to say.
I have no idea. It's crazy.
But welcome everyone to the 224th episode of the High Noon Hemp Show. Here for your hemp pleasure. It is true, I am high above the Sharonville locations in the Planet Everywhere studios, aka my office. Here this week, just so you know, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. And because we had Coach Freddie on the show last week, and I was reminded, and it was on my wall right behind me, of the iHemp Pledge of Allegiance, I think we're just going to go ahead and read the iHemp. I pledge of allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. Put my hand over my hemp. And so, I think that's a pretty apropos way to open the show. I wish I would have thought of it 5 years ago. We'd have the world record for the readings of the Pledge of Hemp, Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know. Anyway. All right, man. We got a lot of stuff going on again this week. All over the place and whatnot. So let's just get started with it. Let's go ahead and jump into the product spotlight, which is normally 4 from the store, 1 from my door, but this week it's like a bunch from my door, just for the fun of it. But from the store, we've got the Colorado Hemp Honey Sticks. Again, these are CBD honey. I think it's like maybe 2 milligrams. Not a whole lot of CBD, but really popular. Because it's just a tiny little bit, and you put it in your tea or on a piece of toast or however you like your honey, and get that. And there's different flavor combinations as well. And then they do make a super strong, which I think is like almost 5 milligrams, which is a decent dose for just a little bit, but it does. I think it does the job. A little bit at a time or a lot when you need it. It's up to you. That's how CBD works for everyone. How about some Kush hemp wraps? If you're gonna wrap up your CBD flower, maybe your Delta 8 flower, or now your THCA flower, which we need to get in. But Kush makes a nice little lineup of hemp wraps, including the 3 on the left there are terpene infused. And I think, a lot of times when they say these carts and disposables are indica or hybrid, it's hopefully maybe because they're using the terpenes from that particular flower, because the whole makeup isn't really there. But that's kind of fun that they've got terpene infused, and I do think that's the future of terpenes is food flavoring. You wait and see how it becomes legal to have terpenes and as food flavorings because they can be extracted from industrial hemp. Um, and again, the terpenes, if you don't know, are mainly responsible for the taste of the flower. And there's, I don't know, I've seen 7 to 10 that exist, and there are probably 3 or 4 which are the main ones. And so it's pretty interesting science. Once again, we're going to the molecular level of cannabis, and it's yet to be determined how much. I think we're finding out that terpenes do in fact have therapeutic value, and it's just kind of like how much may or may not be needed. So it's kind of interesting. It's also where you kind of want your full spectrum CBD, even if you can, because then those if we get those terpenes left in there, then that just kind of adds to what they call the entourage effect. So Kush wraps for your CBD flower and relief. Get it. How about some Greenfield Paper Company? I was redoing the website, and we're going to launch it soon. My goal is to launch the new website on our 28th anniversary. I think that's right, this year, which is coming
Yes.
up. September 1st is our 28th year anniversary. And so my goal is to have the new website launched, but I have already added the link to Greenfield Paper Company to the link page, which I'm starting, and it's going to have a lot of links to a lot of places where anybody in the world can go and buy hemp goods and make demand so we increase supply. It's always been the goal since we opened. And the last one here is the Earthly Body Miracle Oil Shave Cream. Good for, I think, men and women. I think that this would be really, really nice for, for women to use if they shave their legs. And men too. I barely shave, so I don't really use shave cream. And so, and I usually usually shave in the shower, and so that makes it kind of doubly hard to use
Yeah.
shave cream. But I have very sensitive skin. As you can see, I don't shave much. I use sensitive razors, and that's the way my life has always been. But if you use a shave cream, and of course, tea tree is good for the skin, one way or another. We know that the hemp oil is good for the skin. We know that, and so I do think that it might help make it smoother or soother, or both, smoother and soother. You can't spell smoother without soother. Anyway, that's the Miracle Oil Earthly Body. As we know, we love our Earthly Body. They've been around as long as us. They're probably celebrating their 28th year anniversary this year as well. I'll have to check into that because there are, I know, some pretty big hemp companies that still exist, that have existed since then. Mary Hempsters, probably Hempies, Young Maven. He's probably been around since then. Anyway, we'll have to do a little research for the anniversary show and see who else may be celebrating their 28th year anniversary in the hemp world, because it's a long time in the hemp world. So, all right, there you have it. 4 from the store. Now I've got a big bunch of stuff from my door. This first picture has 3 different hemp products. So the big bottles of wine, and it is wine. Those are hemp oil infused, and they're kind of like they are alcoholic, but they're like flavored for alcoholic drinks. And I should have gotten it all and written it down and everything, what each one was. I know the first one is like a pina colada flavored wine. Now I have had margarita flavored wine before, and that was pretty good. But again, this is hemp oil infused. Now the small red jars there, that's the Parma, which is a vegan Parmesan sprinkle. Again, when we had it in the stores, we pretty much sold most of it. This stuff is pretty expired. I need to go and look to see if Parma still exists as a company, and see if I can get fresh. And then there is my bottle of Ritual Zero Proof non-alcoholic whiskey alternative, and you can barely see under whiskey alternative. The second thing there is actually hemp leaves. And folks, you'll know, and I should have known this, that I have often said that the hemp leaves are the most underutilized part of the hemp plant to begin with. And so, hemp greens as a salad I'd love to see some nutritional value on that. And just whatever else you may or not, obviously you can somehow infuse them into or put them in your whiskey alternative. And so it'd be also interesting to see what else we might be able to do with hemp greens. I did have a somewhat hemp green salad once. The first year hemp was legal, we were on our Hemp Kentucky tour, and we actually had a salad. And again, I don't remember tasting anything any differently for the most part. So we should be eating hemp greens as well. I know this: the darker the leaf, the more nutritional value it's supposed to have. And hemp leaves can be pretty dark. They're not normally a light leaf, and so we'll see about that in the future. I keep asking. I'm going to see something soon. I'm sure of it. Now, the second picture here, this is a jewelry making board. It's like, I call it, it's the largest clipboard. It's like 2 feet tall. Biggest hemp clipboard on the planet. Another world record, I'm sure, until someone else makes one bigger. But I made this one for Mary. And Mary kind of has consolidated some of her stuff here. And so this is where I've kind of found these cool pictures of stuff. But again, you just clip your hemp rope in there and your hemp twine or whatever, and you just weave down and make your jewelry or planters. Mary's been making hemp planters, hanging planters again. And you know what? I feel like I have a picture. I mean, I'll have to go back and look and see, because I feel like I took a picture of one somewhere at some point to show on the show. So anyway, this makes it a little bit easier. It kind of gives you a third hand to hold the end of whatever it is you're making. And back before we had hemp board, I would just take plywood and make these for the employees. And I'm sure I have one. Mine is probably somewhere around here, 20 years old, 25 years old. Again, we'd sit around the store, and that's all we'd do, just make hemp jewelry just all day long. So anyway, this next stuff, how about this? This is kind of fun. This is the GG Hemp Wax. And again, I think this is something that Mary was using at one point or another, probably at Tohi Spa or whatnot. But this is a microwave formula hair removal system. And so it's kind of an interesting. I don't know if it goes bad. This has probably been up on the shelf for a little while, but I can't imagine how it would, because I'm guessing you just heat it up, put it on just like they do regular wax, and then you got to have maybe the paper to put on there to rip it off. I've never been waxed, but I would say that if I was going to get waxed, then it would definitely be the GG's Hemp Wax. So maybe I'll test a little bit of that or something. I'll ask Mary about it and see how it works, and I could do a little test section just for the fun of it. And this last one, this is just really kind of neat because this candle is at least from, I think this article about this company was from 2010 that I found online. No, their website doesn't exist anymore. And so, but I was amazing that this candle lit right up. And again, what I found was, if you look down below there, you see the Kenora collection. But that was the kind of, because of this, the article I found about them was all about cleaner, healthier, better candles. As you can see, and it says, it comes in 3 flavors and also a really cool tin you can reuse, which it does. The tin, that's why I wanted to show the pictures of the tin, because the tin does have really cool artwork on it as well. But again, I was blown away that this at least probably 13-year-old hemp candle lit right up and burned for a little while without issue, and then I blew it out. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Officially, it is part of my collection. And so there you have it. 4 from the store, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from my door this week on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Good
So
for
much,
you, good for all.
so much hemp, and we continue with the hemp parade, if you will. That is the High Noon Hemp Show every week. Of course, it is time for the segment of all of the great segments of the show. This is the segment that will one day bring the mountain of awards that the High Noon Hemp Show will possess when it's all said and done. It focuses on fashion and entertainment and information and all of those things that combine in the greatest segment in internet history, the beachwear segment. When I ask Beach, what are you wearing, Beach?
That's true. If you're curious, hey, what are you wearing? Especially, what are you wearing to support these red legs of yours here in the city as we work into that? Of course, we're all excited about the Bengal season coming too, but this one's definitely kind of, of course, we call it heads. We are heads. And speaking of my head, that is an officially licensed Mitchell and Ness Blazers hat. Of course, the Blazers are an NBA team, but a lot of people I think might think that this is one of my hemp mock hats, which I do have some kind of sports mocking hemp hats. But this is actually a officially licensed Blazers hat. So my shirt is a hemp company printed here with the heads logo, if you can see that, 420 on each sleeve, and then on the back it's a big Hemptations with a 420 as well. Hopefully we're going to have some new heads stuff coming in, as well as some new Hempkels stuff coming in for that season to start. My shorts there are by Large, skateboard company, I believe, for the most part. But I really like my fun Large shorts, and they're all about being sustainable and whatnot on the label. You can see, if you look closely, I've got my Hempies belt on up there, holding my Large shorts up. And then in the pocket, of course, as in every week, Green Springs Technology pen. Underneath it all, I Love Bad briefs. And underneath the shoes are some Satori Cantileaf no-shows. And the shoes are Vans. This is my only pair of Vans hemp, I believe. But, it doesn't say hemp on the outside, but I did notice on the sole. On the foot underneath, if you're looking inside, so to speak, it says right there, it says Vans Hemp. And so there you have it. If you're supporting the heads of Cincinnati, that's what you want to look like.
That's right.
Oh, shoot. All right. Well, before we get to the news, let's take a look at one of those good old-fashioned hemp trailers.
on the loose.
That was a funky, fun one right there. Other than it just reminds me that, unfortunately, folks, we are not in Dayton anymore. Breaks my heart. I'll have to see y'all watch all these videos and tell me about that. And anyway, we are back up online. So if you're in Dayton and you're looking for product, go ahead and check out and see if you can find it there. You can go to the hemptations.com website and go to shop online, or you can go to Planet Everywhere. And you can spell where just about any way you want to, but that's our actually shopping site, retail site. But the shop online link right big on the webpage, and I'll have another link already ready for you on the new hemptations.com to press to go to the Planet Everywhere and do the shopping there. We'll work on that inventory and make sure it's up to par as well, one way or another. So, all right, let's get on to some news. A lot of stuff going on in the government across the country and all that places. First one is the Maryland governor is now getting sued by the Maryland Hemp Coalition. And this is all over their recent changes in the levels of THC. Basically, what they went to was a 0.5 milligrams per serving or 2.5 milligrams per package. And the Hemp Coalition saying that basically that's making it almost impossible for a lot of completely legitimate CBD companies and whatnot to hold up to those standards. It's funny because the one comment is they're making industrial hemp harder in a state where they've just recently made it legal for marijuana. Or cannabis with high levels of THC. And so, and again, it is quite ridiculous. That's, a tiny little amount, all on the grand scale of things. And so, again, they shouldn't be limiting the industrial hemp businesses. Because again, all they're really doing now then was like a double helping of the recreational, which is not fair to their citizens, in my opinion. So that's too bad, but we'll see. We'll see how that all ends up. It really depends on how they pass the law as to whether a judge will strike it down or not. And a lot of time with this stuff, because if it wasn't voted in and it was just a congressional thing or whatever, a lot of times the judge, because we're talking about industrial hemp, will strike it down from the federal side of things. So we'll see. We'll see. Arkansas, another state getting sued by multiple states. Arkansas is getting sued by multiple states because they have banned D8, D9, and D10. And so again, all of these things are legal if extracted or come from industrial hemp. That's the federal law. Now, again, states have to change the law to make these things illegal. And the thing is, now, again, I guess Arkansas is not a medical state or it's not a recreational state. I'm sure it's not a recreational state, I'm guessing. I know that I think Arkansas was actually, if I remember correctly, Arkansas is one of the, if only, states to not pass a medical. And again, this was a long time ago, but they're like on a very short list of states that didn't pass a medical when it was trying to get passed in their state. And so I can see how they could, I guess, do a statewide ban because, if they did ban these items and they were medical or they were recreational, then I would think that would hold true for everything. So that's kind of a controversial item there. And again, they obviously, there was obviously probably some backroom passing of these bills that did this, or these other states wouldn't be getting involved. And obviously, there's a huge market for these items in Arkansas. No surprise there. Or these other states wouldn't be getting involved as well with this. So, and that's kind of what I would assume we may see in the future from all states is other states getting involved in when the government of a state passes, not a voted on or something election. I think we'll see, um, everybody jump on board with the fact that sometimes these government changes that happen, we don't even know about it, really, for the most part, can do nothing about it once they pass, can be challenged and should be challenged. If it's just them taking away your rights because they can at any moment. They can, this is true. That's why these things are getting challenged in states. And most of the time that this happens, it is overturned or, again, challenging on the aspect that these things are legal from industrial hemp federally. Um, that's how they go about it. So we'll see what happens in Maryland and Arkansas uh, with with all these things. How about some fun news? There was one of these articles, this one was best elastic waist pants, period. Okay. And they always have like a best for this and best for that. But the best elastic waist sweatpants on the list of best elastic waist sweatpants were these Allbirds R&R sweatpants. Now, they are only 30% hemp, but hemp nonetheless. The funnest thing was the best summer pant, elastic waist summer pant on the list were these. Let me get to where I need to be and get lost in my stuff. These are the Vince. Oh, it says right there, Vince lightweight hemp pant. Now these are 100% hemp, and so they probably come with a 100% hemp price tag. I don't remember if I saw prices for these, one way or another. But it was kind of fun that there were two hemp elastic waist lines on this list to begin with, and I think they only had maybe 10, maybe on the whole list. And so once again, whether 30% or 100%, if you're looking for a elastic summer, and these have the tie, which I love, so it's probably like one of my favorite things, these elastic waist tie pants. What that really means about me or not, but I do like that. I do like that adjustable with a tie. Kind of is kind of how that works out. So might look into a pair of Vince lightweight hemp pants. I don't need any more pants. I have, if I was to go ahead and put my best elastic lightweight hemp pants, it would be my Just Naturel. Maybe I'll wear a pair of those next week because they have held up quite well over the years, and they are definitely a lightweight elastic pant. So coming later to a High Noon Hemp show, I guarantee. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so an Alabama woman was jailed for using CBD while being pregnant. And apparently in Alabama, you do not want to use any drugs while being pregnant because she was jailed. Okay. She was jailed for using CBD while being pregnant. She was denied the mandatory addiction treatment because no treatment, I'm not making this up, no treatment place treated CBD. Okay. So she had to lie and say that she was like a heroin addict so she could get into one of these treatment centers to do her mandatory treatment from using CBD while being pregnant in Alabama. Alla backwards. But anyway, yeah, that was my funny, not funny story of the week, I guess, is that this poor woman had to go through all that um, and whatnot. So anyway, more education needs to be done everywhere. Now, of course, there was a recent study. We'll see how it moves along with CBD and safety and pregnancy and those things. Um, so, and again, we need all the research that we can get on, sure, on marijuana use in pregnancy, cannabis use in pregnancy, hemp use in pregnancy, whatever you want to, all those uses, um, to find out maybe there's a safer way to use it that isn't going to harm the baby. Does it harm the baby? Yada, yada, yada. So we're still, not there because the federal government won't get off their butts and make it legal so we could do more studies on the high THC side of cannabis. We're seeing stuff, I think, more stuff with CBD. And because, of course, the pharmaceuticals and all these companies want to try to get their hands into it, which is, it's a good, bad thing. They're going to hopefully do the legitimate studies that show that it is okay. And then once those are done, um, they'll market their own, I'm sure, one way or another. So I have known about eminent speakers for a long time because they have made you. I found them on eBay originally. I didn't edit this picture down a little. I forgot to edit the picture down a little bit, but these are eminent speakers. They make full line speakers, but I've always known them because they have always used a hemp, and I call it a cone. They call it a dust cover. So that middle paper kind of piece, that is the whole front of it. They use a hemp paper for that. Now, just recently, they have started spraying a CBD coating on that. And I don't know what that really did for the most part, other than maybe it makes that yet a little bit stronger, acts as a bonding oil. I don't know. I'm not really sure the benefits of CBD on the hemp paper. But they say it's right there. You can see cutting edge speaker technology. And again, they've always used the hemp paper, and that makes sense to me because I can always remember back in the day, the cheaper speakers, it was that cone that deteriorated first. Whether it was sitting in the sun or whatever it was the one part of the speaker that always went first. I never realized that it was actually a dust cover for basically the speaker magnet and all of that. But apparently that's what it is. And so again, go check out Eminent Speakers. I think it's kind of fun again that they've always used that hemp paper. I don't know. I have to look more into this proprietary CBD coating. But okay. I suppose desperate times you could eat your hemp paper and it might relax you. If you're stuck out in the cold and all you have are your eminent speakers, that CBD paper, hemp paper, might sustain you for another day. So, anyway, good job. And again, thank you, Eminence, for always using hemp paper, supporting that industry. That's for sure. So, Pennsylvania, which is honestly a very, very industrial hemp friendly state. I'm really kind of surprised to see this, but I do feel like this is kind of one of those backwoods. I didn't really look to see where this happened, but there was a Pennsylvania shop owner who was recently arrested, and they took all his Delta 8 products and most of his products. But once again, Delta 8 is legal in Pennsylvania. What I thought was interesting about this is that he had actually received a letter that THCO. So then that was part of the article, was that this shop owner said, you know what, I didn't get a warning letter to stop selling this stuff like I did with THCO. And so, that's just backing up the argument that I think these locals didn't know. They probably went back to the DEA video of them saying that Delta 8 was illegal from 5 years ago. Who knows where they got their sources to believe that Delta 8 was illegal. And so, we'll see how all this works out. Of course, they won't give him his product back. The guy's probably going to end up going out of business because he doesn't have any product to sell, and whatnot. Because that's how they do it too. It's like, they know they can hold on to it until it goes to trial, and then even in the long run, he gets found innocent and he gets his product back. This is months later, and the police know, well, he's been shut down, and so we did our job. They think they've done their job when they haven't. Because that's the one thing that the police will wholeheartedly tell you is the laws are for the judges. They can arrest you for anything that they feel like they think they can arrest you for.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's up to the courts to figure out, in all honesty, where to go from there. And so, and they're strong arming this poor guy who's probably in the middle of nowhere, and probably the only supply for this stuff for all of the residents of this area, because they think but don't know what the law really is. That's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. So we'll hopefully hope for the best for this guy. So this is kind of fun. North Carolina is making the argument that hemp for fiber, clothing, insulation, car doors, whatever, should and can replace tobacco in the state. And to be honest with you, they're making a pretty good argument because North Carolina is the only state in the country that has both a decortator, which is the big machine that runs the hemp and breaks everything up, and a hemp degumming machine, which apparently is different. And I'm going to really have to look into what the degumming machine does, but that might aid in the breaking of, say, the herd and whatnot, which we use for the hempcrete or animal bedding or any of those purposes. And so they also, North Carolina, not only do they possess the only hemp decortator and degummer in the whole country, the only state to have both, they employ 25% of the employees in the entire country's textile industry. So apparently there's already a lot of textiles. Oh, wait, we know exactly. 20% of the textiles in the country are made in North Carolina. To me, that seems so crazy. Who knew? Not me until today. And so, yes, let's start growing more fiber, getting more fiber to the state, period. I don't care where you grow it. If you grow it in North Carolina, then, that's really sustainable because it doesn't have to travel very far. But apparently we need to get, the hemp into the hands of this, 1/5 of the material being made in the United States is being made in the United States, or in the North Carolina, sorry, by 25% of the textile industry, which is crazy. And so, yes, North Carolina, I believe that your argument for this works well. And again, this bodes well for Tennessee. This bodes well for Kentucky. This bodes well for probably Virginia, West Virginia. All those states are. I know West Virginia is. I don't know about Virginia and their hemp growing, but Tennessee's trying to grow as much industrial hemp as they can. Kentucky's trying to grow as much industrial hemp as they can. And so, if we can start growing this for fiber, shipping it right down 75 and or 71, I think, to North Carolina. Let's start doing that. Let's start doing that. So good for North Carolina. I would not have guessed that because they could be they're the top grower of tobacco in the whole country. North Carolina tobacco is the tobacco everybody wants. Um, but I think just like in Kentucky, where I think that the tobacco farmers would be happy to grow something else. And again, tobacco is probably in Kentucky prevalent as much as North Carolina is because it can be a rolling hills crop. It can be easily farmed on rolling hills. And so that's a lot of Kentucky. And of course, hemp can grow in just about any conditions, honestly, anywhere. And so, I think that's why those two are both good for the states. But um, we'll see how all that works out. But keep making that argument, North Carolina. Keep demanding hemp so you can supply it. I like it. Winfried, this is oh no, I would have never guessed this. Part of the hemp world, Winfried, South Dakota. And of course, we know South Dakota, their governor is like the least friendly. She really made like a video that said the police should attack industrial hemp because she thought it was like something evil way back in the day. Now, since then, obviously, they've come around a little bit because Winfried, South Dakota is welcoming the complete hemp processing company, building, manufacturing facility, and they are going to focus on creating building material. And so, again, I think we're in these. We have to have material so that the construction companies will use it. We have to have construction companies willing to use it, and then we make the material. But the popularity and the want, again, the demand for industrial hemp building material um, for its sustainability purposes alone, and the fact that it is equal to or superior to whatever it's competing with, including what I would now call because there's college kids have figured out the formulation that makes hempcrete able to use in load bearing. It's the only part that people don't really want to use it for everywhere is load bearing. But walls and all the other stuff, it's perfectly fine. But now they've come up with a formulation that is as strong as obviously that's hempcrete approved for load bearing, and that's going to change the hempcrete game, in my opinion. Because now you don't have to back up two different trucks if you want to put crete down. You don't have to use one type of crete for a floor or load bearing ideas. You just bring in the hempcrete truck. You just do it. So that's kind of neat. And so again, good for this Winfried, South Dakota place. I wish them all the success in the world in all their building material manufacturing. So, but they're ready to go. So if you're anywhere now, Winfried, South Dakota, and you need that material or you need somewhere to go with that material to make that material, now you know. Complete hemp processing. So the government does actually want to hear from you on CBD. And so we're going through this thing now with the Farm Bill and the Congress trying to tell the FDA what to do, pass a law to tell the FDA what to do when it comes to CBD. The FDA doesn't want to do anything because I don't think they want the liability, even though there isn't any liability because CBD is 99.9% safe. That's my opinion. It's not any type of medical views. But so far everything's come up pretty okay when it comes to CBD with all the studies that have been done. And of course their main concern is because they approved a drug for children with CBD, and while the pharmaceutical company, while studying to get this drug approved for children that the FDA did, they may have come up with an idea that CBD could cause liver damage. Not enough not to approve the drug for children. Little livers developing. Um, but that's the one thing. In my opinion, I feel like that's the one tiny piece of information about CBD that is holding the FDA back in making this just GRAS. That's all we need. GRAS, GRAS. Ironically, if you want to call it grass, you can, but it's generally regarded as safe. Okay, so all the foods on the shelf, GRAS. Okay, all those foods on the shelves are allowed to have a certain amount of parts per million of stuff that you don't even want to talk about, but they're still GRAS. They're afraid of CBD, again, because I think of this a little bit. Hopefully in the next year or so, we'll see the FDA do something one way or another, but it's really hard to say. In one sense, I say I'm okay with it because it's really protecting all the small businesses that are using CBD. Because the minute the FDA does make CBD GRAS, we will see it in every major drink company. They'll have a line of drinks. We'll see it in food companies. We'll see it again. We'll see it. It'll be in every grocery store, every pharmacy, everywhere. No one will be afraid to put the tincture on the shelves. Some places are okay with the cream, the CBD cream, but not the CBD tincture. And so, again, anyway, and it's still causing a lot of confusion, I suppose, in the world. But for those of us that know, all the small companies and whatnot, they're not doing anything illegal. They just can't put labeling information. You can't put dietary information. You can't put any of that. And of course, just like most supplements, you see that disclaimer on most supplements anyway, that the FDA hasn't backed up any statements that they may have made on a label, if they did make a statement on the label. And so, that's the funny game of labeling as well, I suppose. And I get it. You shouldn't have anything on your label you don't have, and the FDA does track that when it comes to CBD, because somehow they have the authority. If you're putting on your label 500 milligrams and you don't have 500 milligrams, the FDA can step in when it comes to that. And so, and again, that's because the FDA has authority over labels. And that's why you can't say certain things on labels about anything. And if, again, it's not FDA approved, then you can't legitimately put any information about it on a label. Silly. I mean, I don't know if it's silly or not. It's silly in this circumstance that, I suppose it's nice to have some regulation. But again, that doesn't make any of the products that the FDA has approved to be over the counter safe. It's still up to the manufacturers to make those products safe. They don't have to make it in a clean environment. It doesn't have to be good products. That's the thing that, people are like, well, with CBD, you just don't know because there's no regulations. And I'm like, well, there's no regulations on your vitamin C supplement. Okay, just so you know, they can be making that in the back room of somebody's house, squashing oranges. You have no idea the thing. And of course, you do see there's a lot of organizations that these supplement places are just like clean. We are part of the Clean Packaging Act. I don't know, whatever, or club. Again, because they're like organizations or clubs or whatever. But again, none of that stuff has to, be necessarily packaged in a safe environment. You can only hope that it is, in all honesty. So it's no different than the CBD industry, one way or another. And nothing would change there anyway. Again, the FDA could approve CBD as GRAS, and that still doesn't mean that everybody has to make their CBD in a clean manufacturing facility. It doesn't. You press it out of the flower in the beginning in the back room, and There's nothing that regulates that. Um, that's just and all. Really hoping for the best sometimes. But anyway, back to what started all this. The CBD does want your comment, or the government does want your comments on CBD. Okay, I should have put these in a graphic so you could see this, but the website or the email address that you can email, and these are both pretty easy, is cbd at mail.house.gov. Okay, cbd at mail.house.gov. Okay, the other one is cbd at mail.senate.com. Okay, cbd at mail.senate.com. I don't know why that's not .gov as well, but I think I took these now. If .com doesn't work, it's .gov. I might have misprinted that one. But either way, it's pretty easy. It's cbd at mail.house or cbd at mail.senate, and email them. Positive, everything positive. Don't be harsh. Just give them good information. If you have factual information, if you were part of a study that was done, any of that kind of stuff is really what I would like to see go their way. But even if just explaining your personal CBD benefit, every voice goes further and further. There's no doubt about it. And so, I didn't do my hip hippie. So high tunnel greenhouses are apparently the better way to grow your CBD. And so I guess there was a farm, and they did both ways, and they figured out that a high tunnel greenhouse produces longer plants and a higher quality oil. And so, the benefit there too, they said, is it also gives them a longer growing time, which, I would guess that then they may be able to start in the winter and have 2 crops a year in a high tunnel greenhouse. And so, I would guess that I don't know what their definition of high is. I know what mine is, but really probably wouldn't need to be anything more than 12 feet, 15 feet. I don't know. I don't know how much room they give to grow, but I would guess, to be honest with you, if you're growing CBD, you don't necessarily, it doesn't need to be super tall like when you're growing for fiber, which makes it for a stronger fiber. But I can see how they would want a longer growing season that produces a bigger flower. Taller plants obviously probably producing a bigger flower, and so you get more biomass at the end of the year doing it this way. And so, and of course, growing industrial hemp indoors is a thing because it is, when growing for the flower, growing for the CBD or the CBG, CBN, whatever it is, you're growing that for. You probably are going to have better results in the long run growing it indoors. That's the difference between industrial hemp for CBD and industrial hemp for the grain industry or food industry or the fiber industry, clothing material, whatever. That's planted just like corn and or soy and cotton, and then it's out in the field doing its thing. And so that's how hemp farming breaks down. I think fiber and grain is farming, and CBD is horticulture. It's not the same. It's not the same. Um, so this is kind of fun. The article's titled Five Fits, as in five outfits, with Blackbird spy plane pilot and garment evangelist Jonah Weiner. Okay, so apparently this guy flew a spy plane at some point in his career and life, and now he's kind of more into the garment fashion industry. But the Fit One, and this is Fit One, includes hemp elastic pants and jacket by Evan Canary. And so again, the first outfit that he wanted to focus on in this article about him, and it was actually an interview, and I didn't really read the interview, but it was really an interview, and then he had five outfits that he picked out. What I really loved about all the outfits that he picked out is I could have shown them to our viewers and said that any part or most of the outfit was made out of hemp because they look like it. Like he wore a linen outfit that could have been made out of hemp. His like he had another shirt and jacket, and they weren't made out of hemp, but they still look like it could have been hemp material. But this one is again, elastic pants. I guess maybe that's the future of clothing. Maybe I'm gonna predict that in the fashion industry, elastic pants. When they say that, they're talking about waistband, basically. Um, is gonna be the future, I think. And so, this has a very kind of suit look to it, but still kind of casual. So kind of fun, kind of fun. Um, so we're gonna end the news on a really kind of fun note, cool note. I've been talking about this. A couple other places are doing this, and we haven't seen results. Or this was one that I talked about, but they've officially got the funding. A place called Rare Earth Global has received over $250,000 in Scotland to study hemp seed as a sustainable protein for salmon feed. And I did talk about a fish food study, and this might be part of it, or that one led to them actually getting this grant to move on to really do large scale. It's going to be, I think, a 2 month study, and I think they're really going to do a large scale study of that. And so, hopefully in a couple months we're going to see some interesting results as to, I think we're going to find out that it obviously doesn't cause any harm, so there's not going to be any ill effects on the salmon. And B, we may, be interesting to see if it's going to cause a weight increase because of the protein. Is it going to make a healthier, um, uh, bigger fish, so to speak, which is what they're looking for in all this stuff. They're not going to use CBD, so they're not going to say the fish got stoned and forgot to grow or something silly. No, anyway. But I think once again, any studies for livestock feed, and again, these are domesticated, I should say, farmed fish. And so I think that, finding positive studies on these anywhere in the world bodes well for us, even though we need to do as much stuff here. And we're seeing little bits of studies happening, but we still have not seen the USDA approve any hemp food for any livestock yet. Certain states, I think, have said it's okay, but federally, I don't know of the USDA approving any hemp grain, hemp-based foods for livestock that would go to market. You can personally feed your livestock hemp grain, and I would recommend it, adding that. We fed our chickens hemp seed, and they loved it. And so, that's still a gray area that needs to be dealt with at this point pretty quickly. And it would be great if they would do it, because then, we would automatically see a boost in growing industrial hemp for grain, which is good for humans as well, because the more grain that we have, the more foods that we can make because it's approved for humans. That is the FDA. The FDA has made hemp seed grass, and so that's why it's in as many foods as you can find it in the grocery stores. But the USDA has not said that it's okay yet to feed to animals that we will eat. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I think that it'll, slowly but surely, we'll see that they, approve it for this animal, approve it for that animal, and eventually it will be approved for all animals. But it's going to take a little while and some studies to get there. That's for sure. Middle of the Somewhere Hemp Fest. It's happening August 12th in Smithville, Tennessee. The Burlap Room Beer Garden. We'll call it the Hemp Garden for that night. Smithville, Tennessee, if you're anywhere around there. And then the Southern Hemp Expo has been canceled. I want to remind everybody, I talked about it for a while, but it has been canceled. They said eventually, they said suspended. I think they're just going to skip it this year, possibly one way or another, or we'll see if it continues on. And so that's all the events. Not much really going on in the old hemp world as far as events goes, but plenty of news, plenty of beach thoughts, no questions. But now you've been there for this week on the High Noon Hemp Show. Thanks everybody for watching. If you're watching live, if you're watching later, the Jedi Hemp channel on YouTube, I thank you then as well, or maybe on Temptations Beach. We refeed these on the Facebook page, right? Is that?
Yeah, the replays are on both. Yep.
Yeah, so you can do both.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're watching on the Facebook.
Yep.
So, thanks everybody. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having Temptations.
See y'all next week.
Peace.